Recording in progress.
There you go. Hi, everybody. Great to see you. So tonight we're going to do a quick briefing on pre-polling and polling for the council elections. And it's great to see so many of you online. Thanks for your time and thanks for volunteering. So first of all, we're going to run through what the new rules are. And there are a lot of new rules. So for a number of you who've been volunteering for many years, helping with elections and so on, one of the biggest change, which frankly is quite annoying, is that we're not allowed to hand out how to votes, which is a real pest because, as you'll appreciate, that's really how we sell our message. And particularly as an independent group, we found that our pre-polling last time, we generated a lot of votes through pre-polling. But never fear, we have ways around it, and we will be discussing that with you tonight. So the main issue is that we're not allowed to hand out within 100 metres of the entry to the polling booth. So if you think about that, that's a long way. So the pre-polling, for example, is down at St Matthew's Church. So we're not allowed to physically hand out to anybody unless we're back near Worcester Street car park or down at the ocean front or down at the harbour side. So what we're going to do is we've produced our how to vote card, and it's going to be laminated. So you'll be given a copy of our laminated card, and the beauty of that is on the front, and I think Scott's going to show that to us in the slide. On the front, we've got the how to vote, and I'll run through with you in a moment what's involved with the actual voting itself. And then on the back, we've got our track record, and we've got who we are, our candidates and our policies. And again, I'll be running through the policies for you. Now, we've also produced, we've printed 20,000 copies of these, which we'll be selectively distributing through various suburbs the week before the election. But we'll also have a stash just in case they change the rules, which who knows, they might, or we'll also be able to hand them out away from the polling booth. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. So that's what our flyer looks like. And I think it's come up really well, it looks very smart. Okay, and we're also going to have call flutes which we'll be having at the polling. And again, the call flutes, for the first time, we've actually got how to vote on our call flutes. Again, these will be set up, they have to be set up before 7 o'clock, even though the booth doesn't open till 9. And they have to be taken away after 7, even though the pre-polling closes at 5. But anyway, we work around these challenging rules. So that's a really quick look at what it looks like, and I will be running through more detail with you in a moment. So for those of you who are pre-polling first up, let's have a look at the location, which is at St Matthew's Church. Now, there's actually 2 entries to St Matthew's, and the other challenge for us during this pre-poll is there's also the HSC exams going on right near where the polling booth is as well, within the courtyard of St Matthew's. So if you can just work out where you are, you can see the Corso with the trees, and then you can also see Darley Road. So I don't know whether you've noticed that there's actually a small gate in between the church and the new dental centre next door. That will be one of the main entries into the polling booth. That's it there. And then the other one, and we'll show you a photograph of it in a minute, is directly from the Corso. So let's have a look at the Corso entrance, and you'll recognise the Corso entrance. So the other thing that's happened, of course, is there's the new gelato place that's opened up at the corner there. Fantastic. So if you get a little bit hungry, you can grab a gelato. So I expect that we won't be allowed in the Corso with our pre-polling. If we are allowed to have somebody inside, we're producing vests, and on the vests it will actually have printed how to vote on the back, because again, we're not allowed to hand anything out. But I think the majority of us will be situated either outside here in the Corso or our other location in Darley Road. And there's that little gate. As you can see, it's only a tiny little gate, and that takes us through a narrow laneway that then brings people to the polling booth. But we will have our how to vote call flutes positioned, one in the Corso and one near Darley Road. Now, for the first couple of days, and probably the first week, most people won't even know an election's on. So your role really will be to educate the public. You'll have your fabulous Good for Manly t-shirts on, which really stand out, our wonderful blue. And I just encourage you to say to people, hey, do you know there's an election on? And then encourage them to vote. And you can say, you know, you can vote here at any time in the next 2 weeks. And for the first time, the pre-polling will actually be open on Saturday, the Saturday before the election. So I expect that will be a very busy day. So bear with us for the first few days as we find our feet and work out what we're doing. But having you there is going to make a huge difference, because it really will send the message, first of all, there's an election on, and secondly, that Good for Manly, that we are working hard and we really want to be part of it. Now, all going well, you'll each have your laminated flyer, and so you'll be able to talk to people using the flyer, showing them how to vote, and also on the back, talking to them about the policies, which I'll run through in a minute. And I encourage you to get them to take a photograph. Take a photograph of the how to vote instructions on the front, because they can't take anything into the polling booth with them, but they can take a photograph of it. That's our secret weapon. All right. So save your questions to the end. I'm sure you're probably getting a few in your mind already, and we'll come to those in a sec. Right, so let's have a look at the how to vote. It's pretty straightforward. I think most of you would know that with the how to vote, we really want to encourage people to vote above the line. Now, you will remember that with most ballot papers, there's the option to vote above the line and below the line. The best way for us to get our preferences is above the line. As previously, we've exchanged preferences with Michael Regan's group, Your Northern Beaches. We're really pushing for independence. It is so important. And that might be one of the things that you might say to somebody, you know, is first of all, do you know there's an election on? Have you heard of Good for Manly? Let me talk to you about some of our policies. But also the importance of local government and having independence, not major political parties on the council. And I don't think I have to sell you on that. I think we all know why the reason is for that. It's so damn disruptive, let me tell you. So let's have a look at the ballot paper. So we drew Group C. So we're pretty much in the middle, if you like. So as you can see, we're obviously encouraging people to vote 1 in Group C and 2 in Group B, which is Your Northern Beaches. And because it's, you know, not really that obvious, encourage people to take a photograph, will you? I think that's the best way. Take a photograph, because if they try and do it on the QR code, then obviously they'll have to use the QR code once they get into the polling booth. And a lot of people get confused about that. But if they've got a photograph, hopefully they know where to find their photo. Okay, so that's the ballot paper. I think it's pretty straightforward, and how we want people to vote. Now, our policies. Let's have a look at those. I think it'd be good just to run through some of our key policies with you. Most of you have been involved with us for a long time, so you probably already know this, but you know, it's good to be reminded. This is an absolute winner. We've been working on the idea of repurposing the Manly Town Hall for a long time. And what I'm finding is that people now are just assuming it's a given. It's not. It's a Good for Manly policy, and we're getting enormous support for it. And we also have a wonderful drawing, which we'll show you later, illustration of what it's going to look like. The key thing here is it's a multi-purpose performing arts centre. So there'll be a 350-seat flexible space where you can have theatre, concerts, cabarets, dances. There'll be a 100-seat fixed theatre and an 80-seat cinema. How awesome. So that's our number 1 policy. Protecting Cabbage Tree Bay is one that we're finding is getting a lot of traction, with hundreds and hundreds of people now doing that swim every day from Manly to Shelley Beach. It's becoming very dangerous with boats anchoring there. So we want to ban boats from Cabbage Tree Bay, protect the sea grasses and the wonderful crayweed that Dorset and Jenny have sponsored, and make it a designated swimming zone. The other thing that's come out of COVID is how important our suburban villages are. So we really want to bring back the vibe to Manly CBD and the suburban villages. We're already working on a whole lot of ideas for that. We've been working with some of the people from Fairlight and have been able to get a grant for them. So there's lots of ways that we can make that happen. Oh, my old favourite, Marion, it will happen. It will happen. Reinstate the iconic boardwalk and harbour pool. A lot of work's already been done on this by the council. What we're waiting on is the final decision as to what's going to happen with the aquarium. What's going to happen to the aquarium, which is owned by RMS, state government. We're hoping that an expression of interest will go out soon. And once the decision's made about the aquarium building, which, by the way, there will be a building on that site, then we'll be in a position to do actual feasibility studies on the harbour pool. The council's already done some initial costings, but of course we need to do the environmental studies and so on. Upgrade our beautiful ferries. Now, a number of you online have been very helpful in our campaign to save the ferries. Our next push is to actually work on a 5-year plan. We believe that the ferries should be run on clean energy. Our research has shown that to convert the existing ferries to electric is not economical. So let's look at look-alike electric ferries in the future, keep the ferries that we have at the moment, keep them running, and in a 5-year plan, replace them with brand new electric ferries with all the mod cons that we need for electric bikes and so on. However, they look just like our beautiful freshwaters. So again, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes on that idea. Retain the hop, skip and jump bus. I don't need to sell you on that one, I'm sure. Of course, off-leash dog areas are important, and you always get asked questions about dogs, and we will continue to support off-leash dog areas. But very importantly, and I'm sure you'll support me on this, we don't support dogs on beaches. We hit the number of lagoons and so on where they can frolic, but certainly not on our main beaches. Scott Porter, who's one of our wonderful candidates, is doing a lot of work on creating new cycleways and trails across the northern beaches. And we're pushing very hard because cycling, boy, by golly, that has really taken off, particularly during COVID. So we've identified we need to provide a lot of safer places for people to cycle, but also a lot more trails, Manly Dam and places like that. A lot of money's been spent there. Now, zero emissions 2030 is really what we're pushing for with council. It's very doable. Council's already done a heap of things. I don't know whether you've noticed, for example, they've replaced all the street lights with LED. So many of our public buildings now have solar energy. It's amazing. We're rolling out recharging stations. So a lot of work's already been done by council, but zero 2030 is good for Manly's goal, and we're working towards that. Of course, sporting and playgrounds always on the list. We really want to work hard to support and enable affordable housing, and there's a lot the council can do in that area. We've recently set up a fund, so if a new development isn't able to include an affordable dwelling within their redevelopment, they need to pay us money. And we've already had $1 million contributed from one development in recent times. And of course, a lot of this will happen when they redo the main village centre up at French's Forest. There's an opportunity for lots of affordable housing. So it's very much on the agenda. Targeted mental health programs. Many of you may be aware that people think because we're an affluent area, we don't have mental issues. Let me assure you, boy, we sure do. So we need to make sure that our area is getting its fair share of funding and support. And finally, recovery for local businesses. And we're doing a lot in that area, supporting local businesses. There's no charges at the moment for outdoor dining. They're allowed to expand their outdoor dining in any way that we can, really, to make business better. And I think that's really part of our revitalising the villages too, isn't it? So that's the list. Everything's on the website. So have a look at the website, and there's a lot more detail there if you're interested. Okay, So what am I up to? What's next? Let's have a look. Okay, question and answers, I think, is next. So what I wanted to cover next was just a couple of quick things. Most of you are very experienced at this, and thank you for fronting up again. But some of you may not be sure. So one of the things that we find is there'll always be the odd person who wants to take up a lot of your time or start asking you questions that absolutely aren't relevant. And I recently had an anti-vaxxer who got stuck into me for quite a while. So from my experience, I find the best thing to do is just to listen, smile politely and say, look, I'm sorry, that's not relevant to this council election or something like that, and try and move on. With the anti-vaxxer who went on and on and on, in the end, I just said to her, you know what, council has to follow the health regulations, but I really respect your passion. Thank you for your passion about this issue. And that settled her down, right? So I think that's an important one. We also get a lot of people who expect us to do everything in relation to the government. So, you know, why aren't you stopping the harbour tunnel? You know, why haven't you fixed the buses issue? Why haven't you saved the ferries? And again, listen and then just politely say, look, you know, we can advocate, but at the end of the day, it's a state or federal government issue. Of course, we can always get them, send them to Zali if it's a federal matter, because we know how amazing she is, and she'll sort it out no time flat. Okay, so if you have a question, now's the time. Maybe you could, is there a raise the hand option? Let me have a look. I think you can raise your hand or just take yourself off mute and introduce yourself. And let me see, do we have a raise hand option? Oh yes, under reactions. So if you go to reactions, down the bottom there, you'll see that there's a place where it says raise your hand and it'll come up on my screen. And then just take yourself off. Oh, 2 hands up, brilliant. So first up is Julie Beasley. So take your mute off, Jules. And great to see you. And Julie's working very hard on the HSC as well as everything else.
Yeah, my eyes are open, but my brain's sort of maybe disengaged somewhat. I just wonder what we're going to say to the people when they say, what's happening about the office?
Oh, what a great question.
I thought it might be.
Okay, well, so what's happening with the office? And this is the actual fact. So I don't know if you've noticed, but we've opened one section of it up just this week. So we're going to progressively reopen the office. We're not calling it the office. We're gradually reopening East Esplanade. And as the grass has been returfed and been sorted out, we will open up in sections. We will continue to have very strong monitoring with the rangers. So you probably know that there's a team of rangers that go down there when it's operating every day from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And so they go and keep an eye on things. And if there are any challenges, and by the way, there's very rarely any challenges. That particular weekend really was just the perfect storm with people coming out of COVID and nowhere to go. They do have a direct line to the police, and the police guarantee that they will come straight away. So I'm not expecting any issues at East Esplanade. I'm hoping that it'll just be what it was before COVID. It is just a pleasant place for you to come and have a drink. So it will be very, very strongly monitored, and we'll make an assessment after it's been reopened gradually. Thanks, Julie. Douglas Miller, you have a question for us.
Candy, thanks. And it actually follows on in a way from the previous question. Mine, though, is about the maintenance of those grassed areas, whether they are in the office or whether they are on the Stane, or close to my heart, whether they're down in the North Arm Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of those places, there seem to be provisions for water sprinklers that are no longer used. And yet every few years, we go through the difficulty and expense of replacing the grass.
Okay, well,
is there any way in which the lawns can be more effectively maintained so that doesn't happen?
Good question. I think you'll find that most of the issues are in heavily treed areas. So East Esplanade, the ocean front, and also down at North Harbour Reserve, lots and lots of trees, and that's part of the issue. The other challenge that we have, and I will make a note about the sprinklers at North Harbour because they should be working. Often the sprinklers get vandalised. So down at East Esplanade, we used to use it as a tool actually to break things up and to get people to move on. They very quickly worked out that was what was going on.
I get that.
So they got disconnected. And also, of course, there's only so many times you can water it. So if we were using it for a deterrent, we found that the place became sodden. So the council does returf most of those areas, I think, depending on how busy it is, every year, for example. So
I just think that's a shame, Candy.
There's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about it. So we because they're high trafficking areas, they have to be returfed regularly. And unless you want to chop down the Norfolk pines, we don't really have much option.
No, unless it could be done overnight. Unless it could be done overnight. And the one in North Arm, there are no trees where there are sprinkler provisions. You can still see them in the ground there. They seem to pop up. I won't go on about it. It's just a concern.
Okay, no, that's great. That is a good concern. Thank you for raising it. So I hope I've answered it because people will raise that one. It's a good one, Doug. People will raise that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, all right, if you could pop yourself back on mute. Dorset, you have a question for us. You can take yourself off mute, Dorset. And you there, Dorset? While we're waiting for Dorset, does anybody else have a question? No, I think Dorset's got to get himself a cup of tea or a glass of wine.
He's there now. Dorset's back now.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, Dorset. You have a question for us?
The irony is I don't. I was just playing with the buttons. So
Okay.
I really did have a question about the turfing of the grass down there at the office. But you and I talked about that in the car the other day, and
yes, and I've just answered it as well.
It's
So
the best outcome we've got.
okay, great. All right, thanks so much. All righty. Well, it doesn't seem to be any other questions. So, oh, Marion, hi. If you want to just take yourself off mute, Marion.
I'm not used to it. There we are.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, good. I just wanted to clarify, in the pre-poll work, are you saying that we can't stand within 100 metres of the church, even at pre-poll?
Okay, great question. Yes, we can stand, but we can't hand out.
Okay.
Yes, so that's the difference. So in the past, you could hand things out, hand out our flyers on how to vote.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to hand out flyers on how to vote, but we can be there, and that's why we're having laminated copies of our how to vote, so you can show people it and you can talk to them and they can take a photograph of it. What they're concerned about is a lot of people gathering in the one place. So if you find a lot of people start to gather, maybe just move a little bit away from that so that we can't be accused of having too many people gathering. It's going to be interesting. It's all going to be an experiment. The first couple of days, and I know a number of you have volunteered for our first couple of days, please bear with us and give us some feedback, will you, as to how it went and what happened. Hopefully the electoral officer will be kind to us and not make life too hard. I'll be interested to see, I know the Greens are planning to have some people down there. I'm not sure about the Liberals. I don't think they have much in the way of volunteers. In fact, I understand their candidate is expecting a baby any day. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. So there's a real opportunity, particularly in that first week, for Good for Manly to really stand out and to be the ones who are helping everybody. You know, do you know there's an election on? This is how you support the independents. So that's a great question. Thanks, Marion.
Yes, that should be fun. And I think the new gelato bar is going to help.
I think
People everywhere.
And there's coffee shops to buy as well. Okay. So Jane Yabsley.
Yeah, just quickly, I noticed on the screen out of area voters, you skipped over that. Could you just go through that briefly?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Those of you who have already spoken, can you pop yourselves back on mute, please? All right. So out of area voters. So what always happens is that people will come up and they say, oh, I live in Bondi. Can I vote here? And the answer is no. So, and one of the things that's interesting is they're actually not having any out of area voters at any of the booths. So if you're not in your area on election day, you have to vote online. Okay, so I think that's very important. So if somebody comes from Beacon Hill, we can say to them, well, you can vote at Warringah Mall, or jump on the Electoral Commission's website and you'll see there the list of where your pre-polling booth is. So the pre-polling that we're doing is just really is for the Manly ward down at St Matthews. They can't vote for any of the other Northern Beaches areas there, but they can at Warringah Mall. So thank you for that, Jane. Anybody else? No, you've all got hands up, but I'm assuming that that's from your previous questions, is it? Julie, Doug, Dorset? Okay, I'm assuming it's from your previous questions. All right.
Candy, could I ask another question?
Yes, of course.
With pre-polling, is it just going to be one person at the pre-polling? I mean, I will position myself at Darley Road by the sounds of it. But is it possible that we might have somebody else there with how to vote cards that might be able to walk up and down? I'm very conscious that Darley Road is at least 50 metres from where they actually vote. Therefore, it's only another 50 metres to where somebody can hand out a card.
No, that's actually not true.
Okay.
Yeah, so good question. So we're hoping to have two people at each pre-polling. So one at Darley Road and one at the Corso.
Right.
And if it's really quiet, you might like to just check in with each other from time to time, because one of the things that we will have underneath our call flute in the Corso, we will have a box of our how to vote flyers. Now,
Right.
we're not allowed to hand them out anywhere in the Corso or in Darley Road, but you can go back to Whistler Street or Wentworth Street, you know, or down near the oceanfront, or down near or further down near the harbour.
But not on Darley Road or the Corso?
No, because
Okay,
it's
right.
100 metres.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how far 100 metres is. We were quite shocked when we
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
there's nobody around and you really think this is a waste of time, well, by all means, grab some of the flyers out of the box and go for a wander. I mean,
Because I suspect that may be the case in the first couple of weeks.
I think, well, the first couple of days, certainly. So I think round the library is a good spot. You know, Rialto Lane, it would be another good spot. And just chat to people and give them a flyer. But we can't take the risk of handing a flyer out right near the polling booths, because it might ban us from being there completely. That would be shocking. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, we're about to wrap up. Any other questions? This is your last chance. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. By the way, I also have, as well as having Scott online, we've also got Sonia online, who's our other candidate. I'll get them both to say hello in a minute. So, summary. We're an independent team. That's really important, and I think you all know that. We really want to keep the major political parties out of local government. The key message: vote one in Group C, above the line. And keep in mind, if people vote above the line, then our preferences will flow to your Northern Beaches. So either way, we will get two independents elected. Between you and I, I'm kind of hoping it will be Scott, because he's amazing, our second candidate. But you all know Sarah Grattan, and she's fantastic too. So either way, we'll have two independents. And if you like, by all means, bring a friend along. You know, it's quite fun to have somebody else there. If you happen to catch a friend who just say, oh yes, I'll come down for a couple of hours, feel free to do that. That's a really nice way of having some company. If you get lonely, wander around and chat to the other person who's on duty as well. Now, hopefully most of you have a Good for Manly t-shirt. If you don't, send me an email, because I really would like you to have one, because we need to arrange for you to collect that. Our brand is so strong, and those t-shirts are so terrific, and we'd love you to have one, particularly as you're volunteering. It'd be great. So send me an email and we'll arrange to get one to you or get you to pick one up. And the final message is really have fun. I mean, we're finding we're doing a lot of, Sonia and Scott and I have been talking to a lot of people at coffee shops and things like that. The majority of people are really friendly. They really want to know what's going on and they're very interested. And I found a few people will actually come back and ask more questions afterwards. So it's a great opportunity for us to encourage people to vote, to support us, but also for them to have fun and engage with us. So can I ask Sonia and Scott? So first of all, Scott, you want to just say a quick hello? And would come online, Scott, and just say hello?
Yep. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Lovely to meet you all this evening. I'm going to be spending a bit of time down at St. Matthew's also pre-polling, and look forward to meeting each of you. Hopefully I'll have the opportunity to meet each of you at some point in time anyway. And thanks so much for volunteering and helping out. It's fantastic. It's great to have such great support. So thank you and look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, great. And Sonia, are you there? Sonia often has challenges with her internet, so hopefully she'll get through all right. I think she's there. Yeah, she's online. Sonia, do you want to turn off your... Oh, okay, saying that you're on camera. Okay. Anyway, we seem to be having a problem with Sonia, so
Yeah.
not to worry. You'll all get to meet Sonia as well. She will be coming down with the pre-polling too. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm just turning off the recording. And you might all want to just jump online now. We'll get rid of the slides so everybody can see each other. We just kill the slides and let's have a look at everybody in gallery view. There we all are.
Hey,
Hey,
Scott. Scott,
yeah.
you look like the blue wiggle.
I have to show. Look.
I didn't see the bottom. Didn't see the bottom.
He's
I was sure you were breaking to song.
That's really funny.
I'm not sharing below the waist. I'm going to stay up this year.
Guys, thank you so much. We're just so grateful for your support. It's wonderful. Doug, you have a final comment?
Candy, one final one. Will somebody else be putting the call flutes up?
Yes, but we might need some help if anybody's offering.
Well, if you want some help, happy to.
Great, because we have to have them in position every day before 7 and we can't take them away till after 7, which is stupid. But yeah, and we're going to tie them up and so on. So I'll make a note of that.
Well, let us know if you want some more help.
That's great. Thanks. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you. See you down at pre-polling. And thanks again. And don't hesitate to contact us if you need any help or you're not too sure. If you have a good time, great. If somebody's rude to you, don't take it personally. It's their problem, not yours. And just sometimes you just have to walk away. Just sort of say, look, I'm really sorry, but I need to leave now, and just walk away, you know. But it's very rare that you get somebody who's that bad. Mostly, and Tony and those who have done the ferry stuff will know. Mostly people are pretty friendly, aren't they? So it's all good. All right. Well, good night. Lovely to see you. And
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Candy.
Thanks, bye.
okay. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Candy.
See ya.
Thank you.